Chapter 2, Warm Springs Insane Asylum. Warm Springs, Montana Receiving Hospital. Chapter 2, Warm Springs Insane Asylum. Warm Springs, Montana Receiving Hospital. Good day. Bring the child this way, ordered the middle-aged admitting nurse. Her smile strung by the repetitive duty. Her blonde hair was wrapped tightly in a bun, and her stout build looked useful for combative patients. She directed the county health nurse down a short hallway into a faded yellow examination room, cluttered with an odd assortment of fixtures. Chairs lined the walls, and an examination table dominated one end. At the far end crouched a solitary low desk. 2 rows of dim lights dangled from the high ceiling unfrayed. Yard-long cords, air drift through a small window, making the lights swing lazily. The sharp, caustic odor of cleaning fluids greeted newcomers rudely. Here, said the county health nurse, taking a deep breath as she handed over the commitment papers. The stocky receiving nurse glanced at the records, then took Petey and laid him roughly on the cold metal examination table. Is there anything not mentioned in the report? No, except the parents gave him up reluctantly. Some do, said the receiving nurse. I've seen farms and businesses lost, busted marriages, even suicide. And you know what grips me? What's that? There's always someone thinking the parents should have tried harder. The county health nurse nodded, glancing at her watch. I'd better get going. I have to catch the 4 o'clock Northern Pacific back to Bozeman. I have health exams at the high school tomorrow. Well, give my regards to the outside world, said the admitting nurse, removing the tiny German from the child's body. Won't be needing these anymore, she said as she wiped down the young student. Checked his cuts, brushes, What have we here? Asked an old doctor, entering the room. His wrinkled skin looked a couple sizes too big for his bony frame. A youngster, 2 years old, the nurse answered. Petey Roy Coleman, from Bozeman, raised by his parents as kingdom and confused most careful. Let's have a peek, said the doctor, bunching his lips as he deciphering a puzzle. For sure, absolutely crib bound. He glanced through the commitment and shook his head. Parents even had him over to the doctor's in Butte. He placed his stethoscope to Petey's chest and listened, then raised an eyebrow in surprise. The child has a strong heartbeat. That's unusual for his kind. The doctor ran his hand through Petey's hair, looking for lice in other women, then tugging on the stiff, branch-like arms and legs. He added, spastic. The nurse nodded. Concur with these evaluations from Butte. I wonder what the parents hoped for, a diagnosis of imbecile? Spasm edged his voice. Either way, his lights are out and treatment's the same. The nurse added, what treatment? The doctor mumbled. Later that day, a young attendant for admissions carried Petey to infant's ward, a large cavernous room with high ceilings, a dozen cribs lined each wall. Dirty white paint blistered from the walls, exposing a gaudy yellow undercoat that beds. Each cage-like crib had high metal sides. Empty space near the center of the room formed a play area, but there were very few toys. The attendant walked down the side aisle. Glancing at the deformed young curiosities. One child had no visible forehead, only a hairline that started with his hooded eyebrows. It gave him a caveman-like appearance. Another child had a head larger than a basketball. Many were like the baby the attendant held in his arms, helpless and passive. Several, however, kicked and yanked viciously at the stout bars on their cribs. Of those allowed in the play area, nearly half sat mournfully like banished souls. 2 rolled about on the floor, creating a spectacle of driveling, gyrating boxes. A din of grunts and whimpers mixed with screams, cries, and wails. The place gave the attendant the creeps, with all the mongolids, pinheads, hydrocephals, facilates, and other assorted freaks Quickly he deposited Petey in a vacant crib at the far end of the ward and hurried out. Long shadows fell across Petey's twisted little face. As the sun settled that first day on infant's ward, immediately a pattern of monotony captured his existence. A pattern marked by two phases, daybreak and sunset. The metronome of life enveloped Petey with this pattern. In the outside world, life diffused the cadence, but in this place there was no life. The rhythm throbbed, seeking into each other's patient psyche. Daybreak, sunset, daybreak, sunset, daybreak, sunset. Seasons tempered the pulse by the pattern remained repeating over and over, numbing even the time itself. With the passage of time, absolute and indifference, changes befell Petey's body. Had years passed like hours, the changes surely would have been noticed. His legs pulled inward like dried roots against his tiny belly. Both arms bent sharply, the elbows stiffened. With his hands doubled back against his wrists, his fingers became claw-like crooked talons with no prey. Petey's head bent farther and farther to the left. His tongue writhed out, snake-like, and slowly a subtle change crept into Petey's eyes. The little sphere so long unfocused in space, titled imperceptibly inward, drawing the world closer and closer. One day they wavered, then converged on the ceiling above the crib. A dim light bulb drifted out a hazy fog and for the first time came into focus. 3 years after arriving at Enfield, another event went unnoticed. As Petey was given his weekly bath, the attendant lost temper the pulse, but the pattern remained repeating over and over, numbing even time itself. The passage of time, absolute and indifferent changes befell Petey's body. Had years passed like hours, the changes surely would have been noticed. His legs pulled inward like dried roots against his tiny belly. Both arms bent sharply at elbows and stiffened. With his hands doubled back against his wrists, his fingers became claw-like, like crooked talons with no prey. Petey's head bent farther and farther to the left. His tongue withered out about snake-like. And slowly a subtle change crept into Petey's eyes. The little sphere, so long unfocused in space, tilted imperceptibly inward, drawing the world closer and closer. One day they wavered, then converged on the ceiling above the crib. A dim light bulb drifted out a hazy fog and for the first time came into focus. 3 years after arriving at infant's ward, another event went unnoticed. As Petey was given his weekly bath, the attendant lost her footing, struggling to lift Petey into a large claw-footed tub. She dropped him headfirst into the water. She grabbed him up. "Are you okay? You're a poor baby," she fussed, dabbing water from the child's eyes with a towel. The towel hid Petey's unmistakable smile. A succession of different nurses and attendants cared for Petey. He found the 5-year-old easy to care for. Unable to complain, he spent each day in his cribs, straining his head, gazing about the room. Nobody could read his thoughts, nor could they see the feelings Petey was developing and wanted so desperately to express. All they could see were his fleeting, flickering smiles. Failing to respond any further, his expressions were still dismissed as shallow gestures of an idiot.